Well, welcome to Training Tuesday, everyone. It's great to have you with us. And my name is Heidi Reese, and I'm the Training Programs Manager here at Dayton Superior. And I'm hanging out with Chuck Hoke today, he's our National Training Manager. And just want to go over a couple items before we get started. It's the same old, just as a reminder for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, that all of you guys have been muted so that we can enjoy this presentation without any disturbances behind the scenes. Although, you know, love the dogs, but barking dogs can take things out of, but you can't hear anymore. But I want you to be aware that even though you're muted, we do have a mini question and answer session at the very end, and you can go ahead and put anything throughout the entire presentation. You can do that through the chat functionality in Zoom, and I will read those off and we will get them answered for you at the very end. As a reminder, each of the webinars are recorded and placed on our Dayton Superior YouTube channel, as well as our Dayton Superior website. Just search for Training Tuesday. You'll find two links. One will be the registration page to get you to the next Training Tuesday, and the second one is all the videos. Okay, so just to let you know, this presentation is intended for training purposes only. Any technical specifications you will need to find on DaytonSuperior.com. Safety, any of the information that we're going to talk about in today's presentation. So real quick, who is Dayton Superior? For those of you who may not know us, we are the leading provider of engineered solutions for the concrete construction industry. And we specialize in not only the forming, like we're going to talk about today, but accessories, chemicals, and we do so through the Symons forming shoring, concrete repair and restoration, bridge deck, rebar splicing, precast, and of course, tilt-up construction. We have a lot of solutions for your chemical needs that can be specifically formulated to meet the design specifications in both new construction as well as your retrofit and repair needs. There is so much more to Dayton Superior than just the one thing that you may know us for, so contact your sales rep today and you can find out how. Okay, enough of my marketing ploy. In today's topic, we're going to be discussing estimating Steel-Ply. And to help walk us through, this is none other than Chuck Hoke, as I said, our National Training Manager. He's been in the construction industry for over 49 years, with 20 of those as a dealer for accessories, forming, and chemical products. So what else is there? You've done everything, right?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, that's why we love you. So 29 of those, we've been lucky to say, have been with Dayton Superior. And Chuck has worked as a product manager as well as other important positions, and to where he led to the National Training Manager that you see him as today. He is going to share his knowledge on how to estimate Steel-Ply. So take it away, Chuck.
Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody.
It might be morning for the West Coasters.
That's right.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to estimate and lay out a Steel-Ply project. In the past trainings, we've talked about the component pieces that we have with Steel-Ply, what we can draw from, etc. So today, we're going to kind of put those together and how to actually put them in the project so you know how much material you actually are going to be required to have for the job. Now, the basics of Steel-Ply. Steel-Ply basically come panels. 24 inches wide. They come in standard heights of 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and most recently we added a 9-foot and a 10-foot. 2-foot and 7-foot are obviously purchase only, but you can actually get your panels, your forms, from 4 inches to 22 inches. And they are known as fillers, and they are in even increments. The only oddball one that we have is a 5-inch. No, those are wood-faced, steel-framed fillers. We also have a set of steel filler channels, which are 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2 inch, and those are predominantly all steel. We do have just an oddball 30-inch wide column form that can help with, it's basically for adjustable columns more likely than not, usually most customers use it as a fill-in for those areas where they can't fit a 24-inch or they need more than a 24-inch form in place. The accessories that we have, we're going to just to touch base on those, is we got wedge bolts, main connecting piece. So basically you're going to put in a wedge bolt horizontally into the form, across the form, through the form, and drop another one vertically down to lock it into place. You have one-piece Whaler clamps, which basically is the only piece of alignment that you need for a horizontal alignment. And like I said, horizontal alignment is not a structural component. It basically is there for alignment only. We also have turnbuckles, which actually help in plumbing the form system into place. With that, you've also got scaffold brackets that you would need, safety eyes, et cetera, that are all required, basically meeting OSHA requirements. The scaffold bracket has a 500-pound safe working load with a 4-to-1 safety factor, and your safety eye does meet OSHA requirements. Our ties, we have two main types. Basically, you have a S-panel tie, which is a round tie, and then you have a X-flat tie. Both ties are designed so that they have the wedge bolt will run through the dado in the form, through the tie to the others, through the other dado on the other side of the other form. They basically are connected with the wedge bolts, obviously. Sometimes they're connected with long bolts, etc. So, but ties are typically ordered based on wall thickness only. We automatically configure the tie to fit the Symons Steel-Ply form. There are also some oddball ties that we have available. The S-base tie, a toggle tie, adjustable tie, and a bent tie. Most of these ties here are all MTO, so they're all made to order. The base tie, we may have some standard sizes in stock, etc. The X-flat tie typically is used in residential markets, primarily because it only has a 1/4-inch breakback. The S-panel tie or the A46 tie from Dayton Superior actually has a standard 1-inch breakback, so it is acceptable for most commercial work. But you can also get this tie with an 1 1/4, 1 1/2, and 2-inch breakback. Now let's talk about layout and estimating. There's a few rules that you need to follow when you're doing a takeoff, and we pretty much spelled it out right here. 7 easy steps. It almost sounds like the 7 steps of 7 impossible habits. So first thing you want to do is start in the corners. You're going to move to the intersection walls where you have a T-head wall or any other detail, and configure that area. You then complete the corners and the intersection walls. You're going to calculate the lengths between the wall details and fill in with appropriate panels and fillers to fill into it. You're going to add your list of forms and fillers together, and then use the Steel-Ply takeoff procedure checklist to do all this. Now, this is an overview. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this and actually start doing it so we can talk to you on it. Simple box form layout, 10'4" by 8'4". Standard height is 8 foot. First thing you're going to do, start in the corners. So we have an 8-inch thick wall. That came from the earlier drawing. So we have an 8-inch thick wall. You are now going to put a 6-inch inside corner. Inside corners come in two various sizes, a 6x6 and a 4x4. 6x6 is standard, 4x4 can be used at any given time. Just make a note that you've actually changed to it. The 6x6 is probably the most common inside corner that's used in the marketplace. You also are going to put your outside corner in place. Now, one thing I do is when I drop my inside corner in place, I draw my tie lines running up from the edge of the floor, because that's where I have to put my first tie. Remember, every joint within Steel-Ply has to have a tie. So since that's going to be my first joint where forms are going to come in and butt up against the inside corner, there's going to be a tie there. So I'm going to put my tie there. What that enables me to do is know that I have to fill in the area that's highlighted from the outside corner to where the tie is going to go. So to get that, I take the 8-inch wall plus the 6-inch inside corner. That gives me a 14-inch filler. With that 14-inch filler in size there, you will have a detail here coming in. Every corner is the same detail on this drawing. Now, this is relatively quick and easy. Things can change because the wall thicknesses can change, etc. But take a note, if this was all basically like a house foundation or whatever, 8-inch is typically a common dimension that you'll see here. So all this wall has an 8-inch wall all the way around it. So all the corners are going to be the same with that 14-inch filler. So in between the details now, we labeled out the inside corners. So we have the inside corners here. We have 10 foot 4 inches. So from that 10 foot 4 inches, we are going to take the wall length minus the 14 inches here, minus the 14 inches here, or 2 foot 4 inches. Some people, depending on how you have to work with this, if you are comfortable with dealing with 10 foot 4 inches versus 124 inches, that is totally up to you. However you want to, whatever measurement mechanism you want to work with and are comfortable with, feel free to work with it. Here we basically have, you got your 10 foot 4 minus the 2 foot 4 for the two fillers that we've got on that wall, leaves us a grand total of 8 foot. That 8 foot remaining, I'm going to take my biggest panel. Now, I use panels when I first start to fill in because panels are the biggest area that we can cover with a form. And what that does is it actually works out for the customer's benefit to reduce the number of ties that he has and the number of joints that he has, and the overall number of pieces that are going to be used in this project. So typically you're going to have 4 pieces, okay? So now what we're going to do, since this is a square building, you're going to have the same thing on the top and the bottom, okay? Now let's go on the sides. The sides, we've got your 8 foot 4 inches. You're going to start with that 4 dimension. You're going to deduct the 14 and the 14. Deduct the 2 foot 4. It's going to leave you 6 foot. And then you're going to have 3 panels going in place here. So you now have 4 panels on top, 3 panels on the side. Now remember, you have to mirror the forms on both sides. So when you lay the form out, it is going to be You got 4 panels on top with your corner details. On the sides, you've got 3 panels on the outside, 3 panels on the inside, and your corner details. And both those walls are going to be mirrored from top to bottom, left to right. So this is what you're going to have when you look at for the layout of the forms. Now, let's get into building our bill of materials because, you know, it's great once we figure out how many forms we have to have, we got to figure out all the component pieces. So for your bill of materials, what I typically do is I start counting the number of pieces that I've got in this detail right now. You always start with the number of panels and fillers that you've got. So I start with my inside corners, do my outside corners. I start adding my 14-inch fillers because that's the next size up that I've got. And if that was 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch, I would start with those and go 1-inch, 2-inch, all the way down through. And the last item would be my full panels that I have, my 24-inch wide panels. So typically I've got my panels in place here. I now have my 28 panels. Gives me a grand total of 44 forms, okay? So here I have a grand total of 44 forms. Once you have that number of forms, you can start looking at all of the accessory component pieces. So with that, there's a couple of quick rules of thumb that we have for it. Wedge bolts. Typically, you're going to take the height of the form. Now, we knew from the first drawing that we saw in this that the panel was 8 foot tall. So take the height of the form times the number of forms times 2. Add 5% roughly up to the next 100. That primarily, the round up to the next 100, typically you're going to look at where you rent your wedge bolts at. Some companies rent on the hundreds, some do 250, some do 500. So it depends what your company's policy is. But typically you're going to actually have the list of wedge bolts times the number of forms times the height, which is 2. And add 5%. Long bolts are typically used in steel fillers only. Now, this one list right here, as we run through from the red wedge bolts all the way down to the ties, you can basically do this list for every single project you have. And basically start at the top corner and just run across and drop down to the next one going across. And when you finish up with all of these 7 component pieces here, you have attached all of the different component pieces that you typically would need for a project. So long bolts, because they're only used with steel fillers and we don't have them on here, we don't have any. Whaler clamps, take the number of whalers per joint. So we're only going to have 1 row of whalers times the number of joints, which is 44. You're going to add 5% to round up and then start with. Typically, what I normally do is I will take the number of forms, and add the number of corners that I have, because with the corners you always have to start with 1, and that would be one that I would add in. So I would ask in the 44 here, I would take that number, here, and should be number of whalers per joints is 1 times the number of joints, 44. Add 5%. Realistically, there's a calculation error there, and I apologize for that. Number of whalers times the number of joints divided by 2 plus the number of details that you have, which is 4 corners, should give you about 27 to 28 one-piece Wagler clamps, because you only have to put them on one side. I apologize for that. I didn't catch that in the beginning. Strong back hooks. Perimeter of the times the spacing, which spacing can be 6 foot or 8 foot. I like 6 foot just because if I have to do Waglers, I try to keep everything 6 to 8 foot on center. Strong back hooks, we don't have to have them here because you know what? I have 8 foot high forms, so we don't have to have strong back hooks. Turnbuckles and the scaffold brackets. Both these formulas are identical. So realistically, you're going to be able to duplicate the number of turnbuckles with the number of scaffold brackets. And ties are typically going to be the number of tie joints that you have posted in here times the number of ties per joint. And typically, like I said, my tie spacing listed from one of the earlier classes was I run my ties from the top down, 1 foot down, 3 foot, 5 foot, 7 foot, and every foot thereafter. Since this is an 8 foot high wall, so I'm going 1, 3, 5, 7. So I have 4 ties per joint times the number of joints that I have. So here we have wedge bolts. We're going to need a grand total of 704. Going to round it up to 750. And basically, at Symons, we sell by the 500s and the wedge bolts, so you'd have 1,000 of them. Some companies would do the 250, so they're going to use 750. Both figures are correct. One-piece Wagler clamps. You got 26 joints. You're going to have 20. You're going to basically add 5%, 28 to 30 pieces you're going to need for it. Turnbuckles and scaffold bracket. Same figures, one formula, and that formula is going to be, you got 37 feet 4 inches divided by 6. Like I said, I like 6 as my number. I'm going to round up to 7, add 5%, which means I'm going to take it to 8. So I'm going to put up 8 to 10 scaffold brackets and turnbuckles on this job. Ties, I got 18 joints times 4 ties per joint, gives me 72 ties. And I'm watching Heidi count my number of joints over here. So
my finger's in the air. 1, 2.
So
and there is 18.
There is 18. We have basically, you're going to have 72 ties minimum. You're going to sell ties in boxes of 100. So 100 ties per box. And then obviously the one thing that we forgot that we didn't include in any of this was we have to add form release. A good form release is painfully needed for most forms. I know most guys don't like to use it, but you know what? It's going to save you a cleaning charge on the forms. It's going to, if you own the forms, it's going to help preserve the plywood and everything else from the moisture that is basically going to be put against it with the concrete. And what it's going to do is actually help give you a better looking concrete. Form oil does more than just release the form from the concrete. It actually helps when you vibrate the concrete, the air will come out. Air will come out to the side of the form, hit the form, and then migrate up and out of the form, so it's actually not getting trapped against the form. If it does, you end up getting bug holes in your forms, or in your concrete, and you know that's a great place for kids to put their gum, but it's not very appealing. So with this, we have application resources. Now, if you have any questions on how to run the do a takeoff, please don't hesitate not to give us a call. We'll have a QR code over here for actually any training issues, or if you have any questions here, feel free to type it in on the chat functionality. But realistically, we got brochures and an application guide. The application guide, if you don't have a copy of it on your desk, you can download it off the internet. It is available, or contact your regional salesman and he can actually get you a copy of it. We have safety and ID charts available. They come in extremely handy for when you're when you're questioning what you actually received from your dealer, if that was a part you actually needed, or how to use it. And we have tech data sheets, which basically give you all the ins and outs of the product and also safe working loads, etc. Any additional training that you may need, feel free to scan the QIR code to get additional training. Basically, that's going to take you to the DaytonSuperior.com. If you're looking for this presentation or this recorded version, type in the search functionality Training Tuesday. It will come up. You'll get a hold of that. You'll see the listing of all of the products based, and Heidi has done a great job getting it all sorted by product code classification, whether it's chemical, precast, forming, etc. So if you're only interested in the forming, you can basically just drop down to the forming side and see, I think there's 7 or 8 of them in there right now for forming that we've got that you can actually take a quick gander at. Also, on trainings, if you need to get a hold of Heidi or myself, please email us at training@DaytonSuperior.com. Or you can get a hold of us at our email addresses, chuckhoke@DaytonSuperior.com or HeidiReese@DaytonSuperior.com. With that, I'd like to say thank you, and if there's any questions, please type them into the chat functionality. We'll stick around for a few minutes here to see if anybody has any questions. And
yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that, and I can't believe you caught me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, like you said, remember we tape these. You can tell how old I am now. We record these, and they are out on YouTube. Sometimes people can't find them on YouTube. You can search for Dayton Superior or follow us on our channel. So we put them on our website as well. So if you do just search Training Tuesday off of DaytonSuperior.com, you'll find them that way. Each week we have new topics. We always have these on Tuesday at 1 p.m., except I say always, and in 2 weeks it's going to be the 4th of July, so there will not be a Training Tuesday that week. But usually we have them, I think maybe only twice a year we don't, right? 2 to 3 times. So we try to get new topics. If there's a topic that you want to see on a Training Tuesday, feel free to email us at training@DaytonSuperior.com, and we will see what we can do for you. So is there any questions? Not seeing anything going on in the chat. I'll give you just a second more. So I'll let you know a little bit later on when today's presentation is up and ready to listen to again if you want to. And I don't see any questions. So thanks everyone for joining. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. And you do the same, Chuck.
Thank you, Heidi. You have a great day Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.